living and non-living things. They are called biotic and abiotic factors. When these factors interact between each other, they form an environment. But there are different types of environment that usually are repeated, with same characteristics, same flora and same fauna, like the forest, the aquatic. But now we're going to visit the desertic biome.
The desert biomes are extremely dry environments that are home to well-adapted plants and animals. The desert biomes cover about a fifth of the Earth's surfaces. These type of biomes have a layer of soil that can either be sandy, gravelly, or stony. The deserts usually get at most 50 centimeters of rainfall a year, which causes plants in deserts to adapt to conserve water. Also, the organisms that live in the deserts are adapted to this extremely dry climate.
There are four types of deserts. First, hot and dry deserts. These are the hottest deserts and does not have any plants, and the only animals that can survive have an ability to burrow underground. Semi-arid desert. These deserts are normally dry, but in winter it gets some rain. Coastal deserts. These ones are in the coast, they have cold winters and warm summers. Cold deserts. These deserts have snow in winter instead of just dropping a few degrees, and it never gets warm enough to grow plants.
Around the world, there are many deserts that could be found in different countries, but now I'm gonna tell you three in Mexico. The first one is the desert located in Baja California Peninsula. It covers 77,000 square kilometers. The climate is dry and mostly tropical, with southernmost parts being tropical. Although rainfall is low, the Pacific Ocean provides some humidity and moderates the temperature. The next one is Chihuahuan Desert. It's a desert design covering parts of North Mexico and southwest United States. It occupies much of West Texas, the middle of Lower Rio Grande Valley, and the Lower Pecos Valley in New Mexico. The last one is Sonora Desert, as well as the northwestern Mexican states of Sonora, Baja California, and Baja California Sur. It's the hottest desert in both Mexico and the United States. The three biggest deserts in the world. Antarctica Desert. Most people do not believe that it's considered a desert, but incomplete requirement to be considered a desert. Its types of desert is polar ice and tundra, and has an area of 14 million square kilometers. Another one is Arctic Desert. As the Antarctic Desert, this is considered as a desert. Its type of desert is a polar ice and tundra, and has an area of 13 million square kilometers. And the last one is Sahara Desert. It's located in the middle of Africa. It covers a great superficie of the country. It's the most popular desert and considered the biggest, considering what most people consider a desert. It's a type of desert is subtropical and has an area of 19 million square kilometers. The three hottest deserts. Summers in the Sahara Desert are like living in a hot spring. The temperature will reach 50 degrees Celsius during the summer, and you will be able to experience 40 degrees even at night. In the Death Valley, are verified temperatures of 54 degrees was recorded. For the hottest reliable measured air temperature even recorded in the United States. And last, Iron Slot Desert is home to the hottest record spot on the Earth's surface according to the NASA satellite data of land surface temperature. 70 degrees was recorded there in 2005, and the LUT has taken the hottest top spot on several annual location since.
The temperatures in the deserts are so extreme on the day because there is very little moisture in the atmosphere to block out the sun's rays. This means the heat of the sun gets absorbed and makes the surface heat up. This causes that the average temperature of the desert in the day rise up to 38 Celsius. When the night falls, the exact opposite happens. The heat ground and air radiates the heat absorbed during the day. triggering rapid drop in temperatures that causes at night the temperature go down to an average of minus 3.9 Celsius.
The low amount of water causes the plants to develop different adaptations for them to supply the missing humidity. Desertic plants present physiological structures which makes them real homogeneous and with a short stem. Desertic plants also had a low stature, and they also present fleshy tissues so that they can keep water in their insides to use them when it is needed. Another adaptation presented in desertic plants is their small hard leaves, presenting spikes instead of leaves in most of the cases. This avoids them loss of water because of evaporation, and also their roots spread along the most possible distance so that they could obtain nutrients and water from the region. The most common and important desertic plants are Bisanga, bivertical cactus, American agave, foxtail cactus, Joshua tree, yucca, aloe vera, prickly pear, bony ear cactus, ghost plant, and the most common, the pencil cactus.
Deserts are biomes with very little rainfalls, and because animals need water to survive, relatively few animals and plants live here. Little water means little food because of the lack of plants. Animals have adapted to this extreme weather so they can survive in this inhospitable environment. Natural selection is basically what made it possible for these animals to survive these days. Those who have the abilities to survive for these extreme conditions are selected to live. Interesting adaptations are large ears for dissipating body heat, a light-colored coat to reflect heat, hairy paws for the walking on the hot sun, the ability either to store water or to survive on very little water, being nocturnal, and living in a burrow. Many birds, reptiles, mammals, and insects live in the desert. Some common desert animals are fennec fox, deathstalker scorpion, camels, meerkats, jerboas, Adax antelope, armadillo lizard, ostriches, and more. Let's not forget that the cold deserts, which also have interesting animals like the polar bear, walrus, wolves, Arctic hare, lemming, and the caribou, for example. Returning back to the hot deserts, many animals prefer to only be active at night, when it's much cooler. They sleep during the day and search food during the night. These animals are called nocturnal desert animals. Bobcats, kangaroo rats, fennec foxes, scorpions, and owls are some of them. Surviving in the desert is a difficult task. That is why some species create symbiotic relationships for a better chance of survival. One great example of mutualism is the phainopepla bird and the desert mistletoe. The bird eats the mistletoe berries from the tree and benefits by gaining food from it. And the tree benefits by the phainopepla bird because it drops the seeds to the ground, letting the tree's seeds to grow. One example of commensalism is when the cactus wren, the bird, benefits by building its nest around the cactus, protecting its young. The cactus is not affected at all by the cactus rain. Finally, an example of parasitism is the desert mistletoe and the desert willow tree. While the mistletoe is growing, the mistletoe acquires nutrients from the willow tree. While the mistletoe is benefiting, the willow tree can die from this process because of the loss of nutrients. Once we see this, let's clarify that the population is defined as a group of individuals in the same process interacting and living together. All the animals we have seen in the video have their own population. Some are fewer than others, some are stronger, but all together are called a community. Community is a group of populations that interact with each other in the same place. So all these different populations together in the same biome are called a community. In a community, we do not consider all the non-living things in the area. If you do, that is called an ecosystem.
Now that we know how diverse are biomes and how important they are, how can we protect these biomes? Well, creating protected areas is one of the most important ways in which we can protect these biomes and the flora and fauna that live in. The Grand Canyon National Park is a very well-known protected area. It has a surface of around 4,296 kilometers square. Here, you can find different biomes like forests and deserts, but the national park is house of 300 different species of birds, 150 species of mammals and reptiles, amphibians and fish. Now you may ask, do we have protected deserts here in Mexico? Well, here in Mexico we have some protected desert biospheres. One of the most important is the biosphere reservoir El Pinacate y Gran Desierto de Altar, located in Sonora. From the four North American deserts, the one located in Sonora contains the greatest biodiversity. It has an extension that goes from Sonora, Baja California, and Baja California Sur in Mexico, as well as Arizona and California in the USA. Because of the climate variations present in the desert, it is possible to find a larger number of species of animals and plants than in other deserts, like the one located in Chihuahua or the Great Basin in Mojave. The great biodiversity causes the Sonora Desert to have a larger number of protected areas than in any other desert in the world.
Now we will show you the biggest threat the desert biome has. First, the overexploitation of the surface and underground basements of water like oases. For example, 14 of 61 places of the subterranean water in Chihuahua, Mexico are overexploited by human development.
The rapid change in the land use has had a high impact in the hydrological cycle of water, rain, making the ecosystem break down and losing the biodiversity in it.
Third, the invasion of exotic species represents a great loss of water and space for the fauna. Also, the modification of water channels lead to flooded communities, for example, salt cedar and reed.
Hunting and illegal commerce of plants, for example, cacti and vertebrates. Inefficient laws that promote the extraction of water and bad use of agriculture.
There is a reason that we create protected deserts, because they are important for the ecosystem. The Grand Canyon has special treatments to preserve the habitat. In this case, the government conserves the place for future generations. There are volunteers that remove invasive species for a few years. They have been working to preserve the place. Also, they made the change to contribute the park's resources, preserving through fun and constructive vegetation programs. To maintain the natural peace in the park's more isolated parts, special no-fly zones have been established. To restore forest landscapes and lower risk of wildfires, natural resource management techniques like prescribed burning and foresting are used. While older trees in those fire-adapted ecosystems have thick bark that shields them from the heat of recurrent fires. This burning decimates a lot of younger, smaller trees. As a result, trees grow stronger and more developed and can survive and
arid climates